Hey YouTube, Kira Twig. The final lineup for the deck profiles of the Egyptian gods. I started off with the Winged Dragon of Ra deck, and it's being Slifer the Sky Dragon. Now with the other decks, I focused on a sort of a Paleozoic build for Obelisk and settled with the Nimbles for the Winged Dragon of Ra version of the deck. I decided to kind of mix up both of the versions with a little bit of hand and get started with the deck profile. So to start off, for the monsters, I run needing the 3 tributes, like all the other god cards, to summon out, gaining the 1000 attack for every card in your hand. And then also when your opponent summons a monster, you can have that monster lose 2000 attack, and if its attack has been reduced to 0, you destroy it. So it really shuts down your opponent and what cards they can summon out to the field. I thought of reducing the number of Slifers, drop the number of Slifers you run. You can take it out for an additional monster, which I'll show at the end. And I also run 3 Ra's. When this card is summoned, you can special summon up to 2 Ra's Disciple from your hand and or deck. They cannot be tributed except for the tribute of Slifer the Sky Dragon, Obelisk the Tormentor, or the Winged Dragon of Ra. You cannot special summon monsters except by the 1 Ra's Disciple. So then you can special the 2 from the deck and then have your additional normal summon play, which I have plenty of them in the deck we're running, to get out your Slifer the Sky Dragon out to the field. So like a lot of the cards, it just comes down to luck if you open them up or not in your beginning hand, with this 1 Ra's Disciple being one of those for sure. And I also run, I decided I didn't run this one in the other deck profiles, but I decided to try it out in this one just for the fact that it really does give you consistency for monsters on the field. I run 3 the Agent of Creation Venus. You pay 500 life points to special summon 1 Mystical Shine Ball from your hand or deck. So just having that easy special summon, the fact that it's not a once per turn as well, to get 3 Shine Balls out on the field definitely does help for your tributes with keeping your hand pretty high up consistent wise, with Slifer just needing that additional normal summon, or you know, just the Slifer in your hand to begin with to summon out onto the field. So you'll also need the 3 Mystical Shine Balls for the special summon of Venus. So just with Venus, the less Shine Balls you have in your hand, just like Ra's Disciple, the better you'll have consistent wise for Slifer as well. And then for the Brilliant Fusion play, which I really do enjoy in the deck just because it gives you monsters to use, and it also just gives you that additional normal summon without having to open up your double summon. I run 3 Predaplant or for Scorpio. When it's normal or special summon, you can send 1 monster from your hand to the graveyard, special summon 1 Predaplant monster from your deck except for or for Scorpio. You can only use the effect of Scorpio once per turn. So what's very important is that you have that monster to send, which you run a lot of other monsters in this deck that you just, you know, otherwise don't need multiples of. If you have like 2 Slifers in your hand, or if you have 2 Venus, just giving you that option to send to special summon out your Darlington Cobra for the search of your Brilliant Fusion. Just gives you the Seraphonite monster and then the additional normal summon, which altogether comes very nicely for your 3 tributes as well when you special summon this card out. And I decided to carry over Nimble Momonga from the Ra deck just for the consistency of what you can special summon out monsters to the field, and then also shift through the deck for other cards you could potentially draw with some of the other ones you run in the deck. So I decided to put this card at 3. You don't really need life as much as you did with the Winged Dragon of Ra deck, so you know, the 1000 life points is just an additional bonus. I mean, it does help when you pay the 500 for your Venus for your Shine Balls, but unlike Ra where you reduce your life to 100, you don't really do anything else with your life points in this deck. And I also run 1 Phantom Sky Blaster. This just helps for additional monsters on the field that you summon out for other monsters you control. The 3 monsters, and then just, you know, keeping your hand as big as possible is your main go-to with the Slifer deck. So just having this as that one of options, since it is on the ban list at 1, is a very strong play to rely on. And then I also run the 1 Trick Clown and the 1 Gem Knight Garnet for your Seraphonite play. You only really need these for your play. Opening up the Garnet, I say, is the worst potential outcome to happen, but if you open up with Trick Clown, you have other light monsters to go for. If you wanted to run 2 Garnet just to, you know, lower your chances of opening up this and ruining your Brilliant Fusion play, you can reduce the number of Slifer down to 2 for an additional Garnet if you wish. Or you could try and take your chances with not drawing the Garnet and then hoping just to open up your Brilliant Fusion play. But like I said, a lot of the plays with this deck do rely on you not opening up specific cards for the plays to be perfect. And that is it for the monsters. Moving on to the spells. Now, I know a lot of you probably don't have this card to use if you wanted to use a more budget-friendly version of the deck, you can try putting in an additional copy of Reckless Greed, which we'll get to when we get to the traps. And you could also try some other draw power cards. You could try Magical Mallet for the reshuffle. You try Reload. Pot of Extravagance, this really does help for the fact that you don't really use your extra deck for much except for Seraphinite, which we are maxing out the numbers of this card just to lower the chances that we will banish all of them with Pot of Extravagance, and also just for the situation that if that does happen, we hopefully will get to the Brilliant Fusion play before we end up drawing the Extravagance. Both can happen either way. Just gotta, play your cards, those chances, and see if you do end up, not banishing the card for Seraphinite off of this. And I also run 3 double summon. This card is one of your key go-to plays in the deck for that additional normal summon after you get out Ra's Disciple, after you get out your Venus, just having these cards, and then, needing that additional normal summon to summon out Slifer, double summon, along with Seraphinite will give you that play, so you just have better odds to get out that card to use with this deck. And I also run 2 Mound the Bound Creator. This card's been in all the other God deck profiles as well that I've played. You level 10 or higher monster on the field cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. If a level 10 or higher monster on the field destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, the player who controls the destroyed monster takes 1,000 damage. And when this card on the field is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 divine monster from your deck to your hand. So you have more search options if your opponent does destroy this card on the field for more Slifers into your hand. Just upping the hand consistency as well, but just giving you another Slifer option also with the deck. And I also run just the 2 Terraforming for the search. Most of the time also just having, one that you potentially can't use in your hand just gives you another option for cards in your hand to rely on for Slifers, power play, obviously going up in attack points as well. And I also run the 1-up Star Goblin, just more draw power to go through the deck to grab more cards you could potentially need for some of your plays. And I also run 1 Monster Reborn for the fact that you can special summon back Slifer with this card, but just more resources from your opponent's graveyard to use for the tributes as well. And I also run 3 Call by the Grave. Now, just for the fact that with cards like Agent of Venus or, Ra's Disciple, you don't want your opponent to stop you for your special summoning from the deck, like with cards like Ash Blossom or Effect Veiler. So just having these does help to make sure your plays go through. And the card we spoke of a good amount in the video is Brilliant Fusion. I just run the 1 since it's at 1 on the ban list for our Gem Knight play with the deck to get out Seraphinite, which is your additional normal summon, so you can have monsters on the field with your Orpher Scorpio, your Darlingtonia Cobra, and your Seraphinite, and then having that additional normal summon to go into Slifer the Sky Dragon while keeping a good number of cards in your hand. As long as you have, I would say, 3 cards in your hand, keeping Slifer at 3,000, your opponent really can't get over it with its minus 2,000 effect, so you're pretty much taken care of from there. And I also run 2 Reckless Greeds to finish off the trap cards. We already spoke of the cards to take out for Pot of Extravagance. If you want to add in a 3rd Reckless Greed, you can do that. I also considered Brigadine for the Phantom Knights trap, just to give you another additional monster to special summon on the field, but also brought up Magical Mallet and Reload, just to reload some of the cards into the deck if you end up opening too many Venus or Shine Balls or Ra's Disciple and you just want another shot at the cards you draw. Those cards can definitely help as well, but Extravagance and Reckless Greed, giving you those 2 additional cards, just really do help with a lot of hand consistency for Slifer. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. I have the 2 Seraphinites and then the 1 Mud Dragon. I would definitely run 3 Seraphinites just so when you banish with Extravagance, you don't end up, the odds of you banishing all 3 are much slimmer than if you only had the 1 to banish and then, you wanted to rely on just that 1. It might not come in handy as well as you think just when you're playing multiple Extravagance. I also run, just for more generic support, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Boral Sword, 1 Decode Talker, 1 Wee Witch Apprentice, 1 Bomber Dragon, 1 Clara and Rushka, 1 Proxy Dragon, 1 Nightmare Griffin, 1 Land Fornicus, 1 Undertaker, and 1 Link Spider to finish off the extra. You don't go into it as often. I just have resources in the extra deck for the fact that when you banish with Extravagance, just so you have some other resources depending on what you banish with those cards. But that is it for the deck profile, and with that we are finally through all 3 of the Egyptian God deck profiles. I hope you all enjoyed. It's been a while since I've done a deck profile with all 3 as well, so might work on that, might see if there are other versions you'd like to see of the God cards in deck profiles in future videos. But until then, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.